the things that I don't talk enough about, but it is something very important, is dealing with the nature of this kind of dark world, this world in transition, this world filled with hate and vitriol and violence. As a light worker, as a Stellan, as a star kid, as a person who is attuned to the universe, who's more sensitive. Once you see, this is kind of a, it's an important discussion, but it's kind of it's a crossroad, because the more you wake up, the more you're connected to nature, the more you're connected to people, the more you're connected to the weather, to your thoughts, to intuition, to the universe. The more you're connected to that, you, at the same time, you're also connected to the dark people, the dark thoughts, the negativity, the psychological weapons, right? The magical attacks. You're more, now, you see what I mean? When you wake up, when you reach a higher frequency, now there's more information. Now, there's a lot of good information. That's the path to awakening is you need to raise your frequency and to be able to attune yourself to that new information. And you're speaking to angels, and you're speaking to star beings, and you're tapping into your natural self, your home world, your past life. That's the process. That's the, that's the ascension. At the same time, there's this darkness. There are dark thoughts. There are magical attacks. There are groups out there spreading out disinformation, lies, attacking the spirit, the intuition, spreading hate and fear, paranoia. You're tapping into that. In the beginning, you don't know, well, is that the darkness or is that the light? And then you'll have a day where it's like, oh my, right? Something unbelievable happened. I have clarity. And within a couple of days, it might be a magical attack, a nightmare. You might meet somebody who's just very dark and depressing, a very negative person. There are very negative people out there, people who are not happy. They are troubled souls. Again, if we expand the conversation, we say, well, some people, they failed in a previous life and they're brought back and they're very troubled. And they have to figure that out. But they don't want to figure it out because they're troubled. That's why they're just here, just kind of going through the motions. Why are all these bad things happening? Well, maybe it has to do with the fact that you're supposed to figure that out. Now, some of us, light workers, you work with those people and you work through that darkness. And underneath all that darkness and hate and violence, there is, some level of redemption. But, that's some people. So you're dealing with these different energies, this different information, and you are a light being. You are a sensitive person. If you are, right, the more you wake up, and some people already know, if you are a musician, if you are an actor, an artist, a healer, you are a sensitive person by nature, right? even a psychologist and a psychiatrist, they can understand people, they can relate to people, they can attune, they have compassion. In many of the fields, it doesn't just have to be art or healing. Some people have this sensitive nature, this light. And so they are very easily overwhelmed, right? They have a relationship, they have a bad relationship, that can just knock you right down. And this is an issue that it's important to be aware of, that don't let the darkness and the negativity and the fear and the paranoia take over the best parts of you. Now, some people, they like that. Some people will feed you and put fear into you until you're too afraid to do the right thing. I have seen it many times. Some people, they enjoy scaring people. Domination is domination and manipulation. They scare somebody and then they go in and manipulate them. They control them. They brainwash them. Right? And I've seen them done against me. They'll attack people. And they're you know, these kinds of people are very good at manipulation, at brainwashing, and they'll gang up on somebody. 2 or 3 of them will go after somebody. And if you're not mature enough, if you don't know what's going on, and you're kind of simple-minded, you will falter. You will just, I'd better not. I'd better not watch Paris's videos. It's very easy. It's very easy to scare people. The important thing to remember is you don't want to let life overwhelm you and then you shut down. Because some of this is designed. There's so many negative things and fears that at some point you just shut down, and it's safer. It's safe to shut down. Shut all your feelings down. Right? And then you go through this phase, could be years, where you don't feel. And that's better. I don't have to deal with this stuff. But that's not the way to live life. That's not the way to express the total gifts that you bring. That you have to battle the darkness. You have to battle the demons. You have to deal with negative people. It doesn't mean you have to welcome them into your life, but you have to accept the fact that they are there, and you keep them at a certain distance. And you welcome the good people. You welcome the people who love you. You welcome the people who share good thoughts. You recognize those people. You stay in contact with those people. You don't shut down. It's very easy to shut down. There are points in my process, and I've been doing this now for 15 years. I've gone through many attacks, multiple attacks, from the spiritual, the mental, the physical, magical, where my body just cannot take it, and there's every reason to stop. There's every reason to stop, or just to be bitter, or just to be negative, or to be angry. And sometimes it does take me a little while to process things. I have gone through periods of depression and trying to understand where to put things. And there's been every reason to say, it's not worth it. Right? There's every reason to say, I should just become this kind of person. And then I have to ask, am I that kind of person? Am I going to let these mentally disturbed people put me out of business? Am I going to let these mentally disturbed agents and operatives and losers and inbreds make me not fully express who I am? And ultimately, that's a decision you have to make. But my suggestion is, you came here for a reason. You need to express yourself. You need to be true to who you are. Right? And that affects who you are. If you are afraid, if you have, you're dealing with too much negativity and you got some bad information, wrong information, and you got a few nightmares, all of a sudden you're not acting as you are. You're not 100%. And you don't take the steps. You don't do the things you're supposed to do. You don't enjoy life. You might break off relationships that are good. You might not appreciate the things you have, right? As soon as you start to become afraid, you don't appreciate things, right? You see things that are wrong. Again, that's because you've been poisoned. And as a sensitive person, and most of you are sensitive, that is seen as a negative. Because the sensitive person lacks a few of the characteristics that someone closed off has, right? And one of them is something like fortitude. One of them is like courage, right? Guts. The sensitive person, they dwell in this, I'm a sensitive person. I'm an emotional person. My feelings are hurt. I'm emotional. My heart is broken. And they forget, listen, there's courage, there's fortitude, strength of will. Oh, you have that too. You can be courageous. You could be a motherfucker and have feelings. Right? You could be a motherfucker with feelings. Some people are just motherfuckers. But you could be a motherfucker with feelings. And I think that we're lacking that. The sensitive people are lacking that. The full aspect. Because they dwell in this sensitive, the victimization. Because they get overwhelmed. You get worn out. After years and years, without any other ideas, without any help, you become this partial individual. You shut down and you just say, I'm just going to try to survive. I'm in a situation where I got to survive. And you get into those situations. And sometimes they last a couple of years, but still, at some point you got to say, okay, I've been surviving. Now I need to live. Now I need to express. And I'm not going to become bitter and angry. I need to take steps to improve my situation so that I can fully or more fully express myself. Maybe you'll never fully express yourself. This is what they sell on television. Fully express yourself. I've been around a little while. And I've seen things most people will never see. And I don't think I fully expressed myself. I have taken information that is beyond belief, that was very difficult to understand. It nearly destroyed my life. It took my life. And when you get to that level, you are seeing things, you are understanding things unlike ever before. I have been to the afterlife. I have been to the other side. Even all of these things that I've done, I am not fully expressing myself. Why is that? Why would I say that? Why am I not satiated and satisfied? That's the other thing that can happen. It's like, all I did my part. I wrote that book. I made that video. What else do they want? What happens is, when you push yourself, when you step out of the low level of vibration, you expand that palette of gifts, of possibilities, and there's more to do. And if you keep pushing, there's more to do. In other words, this is kind of a limitless field of expression. If you are down here and you've done very little and you feel complete, but that's your level of awareness. But there is unlimited awareness. There's no limit. There's no limit to awareness. There's no limit to expression. So it's kind of sad. It saddens me to see people shut down and overwhelmed, and they don't have an avenue where they can understand. And I get people, they approach me, and they've been attacked, and they've been manipulated, and they're confused. And then when they hear more perspective, and when they understand, they kind of light up again. And that's all it takes. And what I'm saying is, it's all right to have your feelings hurt and to go through a dark period and to get your heart broken. There's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. Someday you're going to get a flat tire, right? Your car's going to break down while you're on the road. That doesn't mean you throw away the car. It's not the end of the world. You fix it and you move. It's time to move on. It's not as a big of a deal. You don't make it a bigger deal than it is. If you think, well, I lost the love of my life, we live in an unlimited reality, limited by our consciousness and our awareness and our frequency. If you've lost the love of your life, I would say there's a lot more. You just have to get out there and go through the motions. Now, some people, again, a lower frequency existence is more limited in options. As you move up, you're dealing with new information, new negativity, hatred. There's a lot of new energies you got to process, but there's more options. And the higher your awareness, there's more options. Gee, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, right? If you want proof, look at successful people. Successful people, they keep doing more things because they see the potential. They're at that frequency. It's like, I can do this, I can do this, I can learn this. And the people down here, they're going, I can't do anything. My life is bad. Nobody loves me. We're in the same reality. I am saddened in some ways because the sensitive people tend to be trampled on by these negatives, right? They suck their energy, they take advantage of them, they use them, they take their money, they take their caring and compassion, they trample on it and make themselves better. So you get a lot of sensitive people on the bottom. And people walking all over them. Again, what I'm saying is don't become like that. Don't become like these bad people. But you don't need to be on the bottom. You don't need to dwell on the negativity. It's a learning experience, right? It's a learning experience. It's a difficult experience, and if you don't learn, it'll happen again. So you see my point. Don't shut down. We are more sensitive. That's part of the process. That's part of who we are. And some people use that to manipulate. And some people use that to heal. But don't be overwhelmed by it. Don't dwell on it. You need to fully express yourself. There's no limit to expression, but you have to find your level, and you have to find that and be satisfied with that. We don't compare ourselves to ultra performing individuals, because maybe that's not us. That's not us. So that's understanding yourself. That's a different discussion. I think if you're able to manage your energy and stick towards the light, you'll be able to understand what you're supposed to do. And if you get overwhelmed, it's fine to retract, and hopefully you have methods of healing, right? You go for a workout, you take a hot bath, some Ayurvedic tea, whatever it is, meditation, and then you come back. That's right. You got to come back, and don't be overwhelmed and shut down. Don't compromise. Don't say, well, I'm stuck with this abusive husband who doesn't love me, but at least he pays the mortgage. And I can handle a black eye every 6 months. Yeah, that's called compromise. Don't. You need to get out of the fucking marriage. I hope you understand that I do swear to make it a point. And swearing, I think, is just part of life. Everybody swears. I don't swear often on camera. But I am an artist, and words are tools. Some of my characters are quite vulgar when I write stories, so you have to go there in order to. That's the thing about one of my methods as a writer is that when I want to understand something, when I want to understand a dark character or a person or an event, I'll write a dialogue, I'll write a story, and I get to explore the character. I get to become the character, right? And to become the character, you understand the character. And then you start to say, what are their motivations? What are they dealing with, right? And that really, for me, that clarifies the character. And I'm able to understand the character. And I'm able to say, this is not a personal thing. They're disturbed people. They're emotionally regressed, which is another issue. People are emotionally, because you can walk through life and say very little and be emotionally regressed, and you come across as tough and cool, right? And you can handle yourself. You look like, this guy knows what he's doing. But these people are shut off. They're shut down. And at some point, they never want to wake up, because it's just going to be a disaster. My dad did this to me when I was young, and I was molested, and But that is the path. That's the path to healing. You can walk around tough and cool, but that's not, you're not living life. You're not even taking in life. You're not even enjoying life. You're not expressing your full self. You're just existing. You're surviving. And you see those people and you say, that's why I say you see them, they're just surviving. That's not the kind of people you want to associate with. You want to associate with people who speak truthfully, who express themselves, who heal, who are happy, who share and contribute, who bring joy, who make you happy. If somebody makes you happy and somebody says that's a bad person, well, wait a minute, they make me happy. That's a good sign. You don't make me happy, so you're a bad person. And that's the, life, you got to navigate life. There's no one level program here. Things are changing. Right? You get a little older and you're meeting all kinds of different situations. You got to navigate that. You go through a little older, there's a new situation. And life doesn't go like this. Yeah, well, it's challenging. You have to adapt. As a sensitive person, it's good to be aware that you can get overloaded, right? And this is where people get overloaded and they take time off their career, they take a sabbatical, or they just change career. Like I've seen a number of people who are light workers and they just can't do it anymore. They've just had enough, right? And that's the other thing too, is because you're a light worker doesn't mean you have to do at the same level as you did just because people need help. People always need help. You got to decide where your comfort level is and make sure you don't get overwhelmed. At some point, maybe you change career. Maybe you do something different. Right? Musician, just because you're a musician doesn't mean you always have to be a musician. You could be more. You could be something else. Right? Why limit yourself? Right? There are many musicians, they take 10 years off and do something else and they come back and release another album. So what? You're not in the top 40 for 10 years. Be true to yourself. And it's very difficult at times. We don't often get a chance to have these kinds of talks. I tend to charge for the new information, breaking new ground. It's very difficult, talk about new things all the time, and there's so many things to talk about. I thought today it was good that we have a little chat about sensitive people navigating a very dark and depressing and violent world. And don't let yourself get overwhelmed, and don't shut down. If you're shutting down, there's a problem. You need to reconfigure your life. That's right. Get rid of certain people. Change your boundaries. And we can get into that later, is your energy field. You can move it. You can move your energy field out and in. I've seen some people have it all the way out, and then you're taking in all this stuff. So bring it in. Suck in your energy field. And learn to play with it. Learn to play with your energy. Right? You don't need to always be. Some people I've seen, they're like around the block, scanning the block, full of danger. Of course you're going to find stuff. Bring it in, calm down, life's good. Okay?